Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite average to good podcast, Call It What You Want, which is being brought to you by Zillow. Someday starts today. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Tony Meola and not Charlie Davies. Got Benny Feilhaber joining us today. Benny, great to see you as always. Hey, everybody that's hanging out with us on the Glosso Network, we appreciate you. Glosso America YouTube channel, we appreciate you. And if you're listening to the soothing sounds of our voice on your podcast platform of choice, we appreciate you. This is going to be a great show. We're talking about our roster selections, or what we think we're going to see for the March friendlies. We're going to talk about the Concacaf Champions Cup and some other news, as we do. Listen, it's always a fun show. Benny, we haven't seen you in a while. How are you? Looking great.
I'm great, man. I appreciate you guys having me. It's fun to be with Jimmy and with Tony here. It's too bad. I thought I was going to see Charlie as well. We're going to be a 4-box here, but it's exciting to be on here and seeing you guys.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to getting your insight. Tones, you want to take any stabs at where Charlie is? Because I actually don't know.
Well, one of his many rentals that he has across the world. He's somewhere. I have no idea where he is.
I don't know either.
He kind of left mysteriously after the last show and said, "I won't be here on Thursday." So, yeah, I have no idea. I'm gonna guess he's in Mexico for the day. He just flew down to Mexico for the day.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough life being a landlord of many properties. So it must be exhausting. Also, fun fact for everybody. All three of us are sporting Kansas City legends. I believe all of us have our names up in the stadium at Children's Mercy Park.
Yeah, I stepped on there last year, so I'm with you guys.
Hey, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, Benny. It's great.
Club to be in.
Yeah, great club to be in. Lots of fun. Okay, so we were asked by our producers to make a roster projection, give them 26 names, and then they would try to figure it out. We agreed on 20 of those, and 6 of them we did not agree. So we're going to get into. And I guess here, let me say this, give you some details. You had to get 2 votes from us 3 to get into the roster for us to have that agreement. And then there was it's like 6 or 7 players that 7 players got 1 vote. So they did not make the list. But let's get into our consensus picks. We're going to start with goalkeepers with our resident goalkeeper, Tony Meola. We have Matt Freese, we have Matt Turner, and Jonathan Klinsmann were the 3. I had all 3 of those in there, so I'm kind of curious who was the odd person out. I see Ethan Horvath got a vote. I'm curious.
Yeah, I threw Horvath with vote. So
here we go.
My guess is
Explain yourself.
I'm gonna have to probably concede my picks to Tony, like you said. He's the resident goalkeeper, but I could see that a lot of your guys' picks are lined up, and mine are a little bit all over the place. But I actually went with obviously Matt Freese, Horvath, and Celentano. Those were my 2 picks that didn't make it. Horvath was, he used to be part of the pool. Didn't play as much, came back to MLS now, has been doing pretty well with the Red Bulls. And so I figured, hey, maybe this is the last camp before, the World Cup. Let's take a look at him and make sure that, the options, not calling in Horvath for the World Cup, are the better options. Or if maybe he surprises you and he becomes a second or third option for the World Cup.
Wow. Tones, do you think Benny's been drinking before he starts making his list? I don't know.
I was going to ask, when you made the list, was it like after 8 o'clock?
Been drinking when he gets his unbelievable.
Yeah, so I went this way, but Benny, just to kind of recap what I said the other day, like for me, Freese and Turner are going, and Matt Turner still has, some work to do. I think Matt Freese is the guy. And then the line of 3, I had all of those names on that line. Like it's like a line going across. We got to pick somebody because we can't put them all in the graphic. But like Schulte, Horvath, like all of these guys are in the same line, and I don't know where to go. I picked Klinsmann because Klinsmann is playing every week. He's been in a recent camp. There's been at the beginning of the season at Cesena, he was man of the match a bunch of times for his team. So there's like a rhythm, right, in what he's doing, and that's kind of was the separator for me. But now that MLS is,
maybe I'm just drinking water then.
Yeah,
not too crazy.
Now that MLS, MLS is starting. You never know, right? Because Schulte's been there a couple times. I think Celentano's probably on the outside looking out. Honestly, I didn't think about Ethan Horvath, but coming back here, part of it's the play. Michael Bradley apparently convinced him to come back, and he wanted to come back. He liked the project. But I got to think part of it is this is like you said, my last chance to get to the national team, right? This is my last chance to maybe get to a World Cup. So great start for them. He gave up a couple goals this weekend, not necessarily his fault. But, I just think the 3 guys is kind of wide open right now.
All right, so I always do this. I always bury kind of the lead here. I should have named all the names, and then we could have gone back into it, but I'm so excited to get into one line at a time. Here are the other 17 names that we agreed upon. We'll start with the defenders. Max Arston, Noahkai Banks, Alex Freeman, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Anthony Robinson, also known as Jedi, Miles Robinson, and Tim Weah. This is what we think will be the roster projection for the March friendlies, not the World Cup, just to make that clarification. Midfielders, Tyler Adams, Sebastian Berhalter, Johnny Cardoso, Weston McKennie, Christian Roldan, Tanner Tessman. And then forward / let's just call them attacking players. Brendan Aronson, Patrick Agyemang, Fuller and Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, Malik Tillman, Haji Wright, Alex Zendejas. I paused on Tillman there because he had a rough one for Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League. We'll get into that in a little bit, but let's get to the defenders. So Chris Richards, for me, number one on the team sheet, as they say, number one in the back line. Tim Ream will be in the team for sure. Mark McKenzie, Miles Robinson, Noahkai Banks, Jedi, Max, Alex Freeman, Tim Weah, as I mentioned. Now we're hearing reports that Noahkai Banks he's leaving, maybe thinking Germany. He's thinking Germany at this point. Let's just call it what it is, because that's the name of the show that Johnny Bornstein called it, right? So we're going to call it here. And I think what's interesting is Noahkai Banks has turned off his comments on his Instagram page because he was just hey, shout out to the U.S. fans. This worked for getting Balogun on our team. But Noahkai Banks, he put out something in the last game against for Augsburg. And every comment from the U.S. fans like, hey, we need you this summer. Hawaii's our favorite state. That's where he was born. I mean, it was amazing. And he had to turn off his comments because I think he's getting too much heat. Like, people want him to come join the U.S. And so that was an interesting move. And I think that this is going to really be a telltale sign. And Tones, I'll come to you on this because you're closer as our resident. You're going to get all the attacking players, Benny. Don't worry. But Tones, I don't think this is a good sign that he's going to be playing for us if he doesn't get called into this roster.
Yeah, look, there's no. We've gone through this before, right? There's nothing you can do if a guy says, "I don't want to play for your nation," right? Yeah, of course you can try and convince him. Hey, Noahkai, this is our plan, right? This is where we see you. This is what we think the pathway looks like for you. Hasn't been called into he's been called in our camp. He hasn't been called into the German national team. I saw some stuff online last night when this came out. And again, these are reports out of Germany, right? Yeah, and if I'm the German press, I'm like, no, this is a young center back. I want to keep him and see if he develops into a national team player with Germany. Of course you would. But I saw some reports, Pochettino screwed this up. He played Blackman and somebody else. I forget who else he played but he was injured when he was in camp. That's why he didn't get anything. Like, he had like a little niggling injury, so they didn't risk him at all. That wouldn't have changed anything from an international standpoint. He still would have had to play in an official game, all of that stuff. But I think you make a run at him, and you obviously have to. And if in the end he says no, then he says no. What are you going to do, right? Like, I don't want to play for your country. There's a line, like, how far do you go, right? It's like dating a girl, or you ask because you want something, and when they say no, that's it. It's over from there. So yeah, I don't know. They're going to make that determination. Would we like to have him? I mean, you're the center back. We've been talking about it for a while.
No,
of course we would like to have him.
Yeah.
But if his heart is to play only for Germany, that's where he's going to focus his time, is to try and play for Germany.
Yeah, Nathaniel Brown, who I think falls into a similar category of being able to play for us, but elected to play for Germany and got a couple caps now. He would have been really nice to have. He's a highly rated left back, plays for Eintracht Frankfurt. So he'd be nice to have in the conversation. Benny, you've done some coaching.
Sorry. What would you guys do? Like, you're put yourself in Pochettino or the long-term manager, because if he comes here, he's a long-term center back, right? He's like one of those 10-year guys. Say you're working at the Federation. You keep talking to him. Benny, you go. No, Kai, yeah. Nah, I really want to play for Germany. At some point, right, like, you got to go, I want the guys, what Pochettino said, like, in his first press conference, I want the guys who want to be here. Mm-hmm. I got to focus on those guys, right? I mean, there's some line, and everyone has a different level of where they cut the ties, right?
And I think there's a short-term and a long-term approach, and they don't have to be the exact same one, because short-term, you want to try and get everybody into camp that wants to be there and fortify the team as best you can for the World Cup. That doesn't look like it's very likely with Noahkai, but having said that, can you keep him around for the long-term plans? Because who knows what it looks like for Germany, right? Maybe Germany doesn't call him up. Maybe after the World Cup, he's thinking, man, I missed out on the World Cup. I could have been part of the roster. Now Germany's not calling me in. And, the U.S. becomes the preferred destination after a couple of years. So keep that. Don't burn any bridges. He's not necessarily going to be the starter in this World Cup, most likely, right, for any team. And so you keep that open and you let him know, hey, we're interested in you. You follow the path that you want to follow, and then we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, what's interesting is that Noahkai, I think is his nickname, Noahkai Banks, is got an ankle injury, so he won't be playing for Augsburg this weekend against Borussia Dortmund. Could be a reason for Mauricio Pochettino not to bring him in. He wouldn't be cap-tied if he played for us anyway in this window. So there's still, even if he did, his options would still be open in some ways. But yeah, to your point, Tones, if he really wants to play for Germany, that's where his heart is. What else can you do? What else can you say? And I do agree. Like, if somebody doesn't want to be here and their energy isn't towards getting better with the U.S. men's national team, then you just got to set him free. Let him go. Let him go. And so our fan base might just need to let him go if that's where it's happening. Anyway, back to the defenders. Richards, Ream, McKenzie, Miles Robinson. I hope maybe Noahkai Banks will see. Jedi, great to see Jedi get a proper run out with this team. Max Arfson obviously ready to go if not. And then very curious to see if we go with Freeman. I think Freeman and Way, I have him in the back line because that's where I think he's going to line up. If Freeman ends up being a center back for us and kind of that fluid four, but ultimately the back three, or if Freeman lines up as a wing back, we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's get to the midfielders. We have Tyler Adams. This is who we agreed upon. Tyler Adams, Johnny Cardoso, Weston McKennie, Sebastian Berhalter, Christian Roldan, and Tanner Tessman. Now, Tessman got 2 votes, so I'm kind of curious who didn't vote for him. But and then we're going to get into Johnny a little bit more. But so resident midfielder, Benny Feilhaber. Is this your 6? Who did you pick for your midfielders?
Jimmy, I'm going to tell you the truth. I can't remember who I picked anymore because I picked Tanner Tessman at one point, and I want to say I maybe subbed him in for somebody else at some point. But anyways, the one guy that I see missing here from my pick is Diego Luna. Unless we put him in the forwards. Did we not? No, we didn't. So, yeah, Diego Luna's
injured now.
He got 1 vote.
Did he just get injured? Is that what Tony just said?
Right, from
he hasn't been playing. Yeah.
So maybe he might not get called into this camp, but I do see him, if he gets back to health, obviously being part of the team. So maybe that was the
so
one.
Does he make the World Cup roster for you? Let's just
I
jump
think
ahead
so.
then.
I would think so. I'd be disappointed and a little bit surprised if he doesn't make that roster, because I do think that he brings something a little bit different, right? I don't think you need to, when you're building a roster, you don't need to look at every position to say, well, is he playing in Europe? Is he playing on the top teams? Are they winning every game on the weekends? I just think that at times there's pieces that fit in with the greater group. And, I think Diego Luna provides something a little bit different for this team. There's this energy that comes with him as well. So, yeah, I hope he's on the squad.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. He's got to get back to full health so he can be evaluated properly.
Jimmy, did you have McKennie in the midfielders? See,
I can't remember actually if I had him.
I had him in the 2. I did it by position, the 3-4-2-1. Right. Yeah, I had him in that as one of the 10s that we'll get to, but I think you might have mentioned him in this one, right? In this,
I did. I can't remember actually if I put him at midfield or attack.
I thought you did at least. I could be wrong. Yeah.
No. Well, I know there's a conversation to be had about having him in that spot. I feel like he's still an 8, but the more I think about, here's the and I want to get Benny's thoughts on this because I don't know if you've chimed in on this or been on the show when we've talked about it, Benny. But for me, Tyler Adams is at his best when he's on the hunt and when he can go and chase down an idea or if he can sniff something out and break up a play a little bit higher up the field than maybe us sitting back and just absorbing or reacting to what the other team's doing. Like, he's always on the front foot. And I feel like if we have him hold and sit, we're not using the best and getting the best out of Tyler Adams and what he can bring to the table. And so if you have a Weston who kind of does the same and maybe not as defensively as astute or willing, I mean, I know he can do it at times, but Tyler's really like that guy in there, right? If you had somebody that held next to him, then that allows Tyler to go do those things. And I just don't think Weston's the guy to do that. And that's where I feel like a Tessman or a Cardoso or somebody else where you give them that hey, this is your job. You got to sit in front of that 3 fluid 4 and let Tyler go hunt. I think it makes us more dynamic, especially when you don't have the ball. And against these opponents in these upcoming friendlies, I don't think we're going to have as much of the ball as we might when we get to the group stages of the World Cup.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that when you watch Tyler play in the Prem, he runs all over the field. He probably has the biggest distance, and he doesn't just sit into that pocket and protect the back line. he does it with his mobility and tackling and almost like a safety in football where he's waiting for where the pass is going to go for him to go and bite. I tend to agree. I almost think back to when I used to play here 4-3-3, where you have the two guys in front of the six that are they're pit bulls. They're not 10s, right? They're guys that run. They're able to defensively go and kill the game, and I think that serves Tyler pretty well. It's almost like a pseudo 8, but in front of the 6. I tend to agree. Can we find somebody that's going to sit in that 6 pocket, protect the back line, be the connector offensively and defensively, just be a guy that kind of anchors that midfield? It could be interesting for those other two guys that are very mobile in front of them.
I want Benny on the show more. He agrees with me a lot more than Charlie does.
So Jim, for the record, I had Weston in that spot, and I've said time and time again, I would love to see Weston next to Tyler Adams. Right. Because me personally, when I watch him play, I picked this roster based on what I think Pochettino will do. Okay. Right. So what I think Weston gives you is the guy from that spot. He will get in the box. We know that, right? He finds areas to get in the box.
You have him as a 10 though, or
I put him as a 10 for this lineup. I just killed my desk. For this lineup, because I think that's where Pochettino is going to play him. But I've said time and time again, I like him next to Tyler Adams because he will find his way in the box from deep, and then he will always give it a work rate defensively, right? And still allow Tyler to do the things that you're talking about, right? But I had him as a 10, and just as a note, I struggled with this one. I screwed up because I was doing this on an airplane. I forgot Zendejas, as much as I like Zendejas when we get forward, but I had Yunus Musa in my roster in the midfield getting one last shot, right? I don't think we can. Yeah, I struggled with it. I crossed it out. I put it back. I'm like, yeah, he's got to get. There's a guy who played in the World Cup. He's got to give him one more chance. He at least is having a decent little run, although the last game wasn't great. But one more chance for a guy. Just don't discard him now. And then I go, well, the whole thing in the summer with Pochettino is probably still ringing in his head. He's never going to bring him in. That's what I did in my head when I ultimately put him in. But it was a struggle, in and out with Musa. But I just wanted to mention I had him on my list.
Yeah. I saw he got 1 vote, and I was curious who put him in there.
Yeah, it was me. It was me.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. He just hasn't been with the team for a year. And then he did score those 2 goals in 49 minutes, which, we were highlighting and we're excited about for him. And then he got the start. He finally got the start this past weekend, and he got subbed out at halftime. Not a good look as Atalanta fought for a 2-2 draw. All right, let's get into our player spotlight presented by Zillow. Someday starts today, and it's going to be about Johnny Cardoso. Now, Mauricio Pochettino was in attendance to watch this one, or was he there to watch Tottenham? I don't know. But I think it's interesting. Johnny Cardoso starts this game, and I mean, this game's more about Tottenham's goalkeeper making mistakes than it is about getting subbed off 20 minutes in than maybe Johnny's performance and Atleti overall. Atleti had basically 3 gifts of goals. They took advantage of those. That's not always easy to do. And then scored 2 other ones. One was on a set piece. One was on the run of play. And Johnny's in there just breaking up tackles and winning games. But I think the big takeaway, Benny, I'll come to you on this, is that he's being trusted by a big-time manager and a big-time club, Atleti and Diego Simeone. What did you make of his performance? He hasn't played well for the U.S. when he's gotten his opportunities. You had him in your list over Tessman, so I'm kind of curious why that in particular, and where do you think Johnny? Do you think he starts? Do you think he's a good partner for Tyler? What do you think?
Well, first, I had him in my list because you asked me for who I think is going to be in camp, right? So it's not necessarily my opinion of the player, but obviously we see Poch there at the game, and Johnny Cardoso is playing, like you said. And I do think that goes a long way in terms of, is he playing fantastic every time we watch him with Atleti? No, but he's playing. He's playing every day. So he must be doing something, right in training, and Simeone's putting him in the game, and he's doing the things that he's supposed to as the probably least big name out of the entire roster, is just sitting in the middle of the field and conducting what he's supposed to do. And maybe he's able to do that with the national team, kind of like what we talked about in behind, the Tyler Adams and the Weston McKennies. And so I do think that he provides a really good service. Is he a flashy player? No, but do we really need 11 flashy players out there? We just need somebody to do the job in that anchor role, in that 6, that's able to distribute, that's able to organize. I think he's made a case for himself for sure, and playing one of the top teams in all of the world, really, I mean, they're in the what is the round of 16, pretty much into the quarterfinals of Champions League. They're going to probably play, what is it, Barca or who did Barca just play? Barca or Newcastle. So I mean, look, he's playing on one of the top teams in the world, and he's starting more often than not, and doing a job. And so he needs to be on that list. We need to take a good long look at him. He's going to be on the roster for the World Cup. The question is he going to be, I think, a starter or not? So he's doing everything he can at this point.
Yeah, I do. Well, one of my fun facts about him is I love that he goes by Johnny on his jersey. We don't have a lot of Americans.
He's Brazilian.
Yeah, I know that, but that just cracks me up. I wish I would have gone with Jimmy back in the day. Just that would have been next level. And man, the guy, Jimmy Conradinho, baby. But I also love that he can rock a fantastic mustache. I've got plenty of time for a good mustache. Tones, your thoughts on Johnny Cardoso?
Yeah.
Every time he plays for the U.S., it just hasn't taken advantage of it. And you think, like, this guy plays at Atletico Madrid. This is a proper big club. And yet it hasn't transferred over to his national team. And I wonder, how many chances do you give this guy? But if you're like, hey, Tessman just does the job better. Hey, we had Pochettino on record saying that Christian Roldan is his perfect player, right? I mean, there then becomes a trust component to it. And you guys have both coached. When you find a player that you can trust that will give you a 6, 7, or 8 out of 10 every time they step on the field, you're going to go with that guy despite where somebody might be playing their club ball.
Yeah, first off with Pochettino. Pochettino was there as a guest of Atleti, right? And he was there, and he doesn't travel to see players, so he was there for one reason, right? For me, and
Tottenham.
that's to see Johnny. Yeah,
simple as that. Tottenham. Okay, all right. See Johnny,
no, but he was a guest of Atleti. That's they made that public, right? So, yeah. I find it hard to believe, and I've said this time and time again, I find it hard to believe, like Benny said, we are going to potentially leave off the roster a guy that now is starting at Atletico Madrid. Now, if the U.S. national team has gotten to that point, we're in a really good place.
That's progress,
right?
Baby. Progress.
If we're leaving guys off that are starting in Champions League in a round of 16, and I know you could make a judgment how he played, how he didn't play, and rate whatever you want. But, like, are we at the point where we're leaving off guys that are starting at Atletico Madrid in the round of 16? I would love to say, yeah, we are definitely there, right? But I don't know that we are, man.
We're not leaving him off, though, Tony. I can't imagine they're leaving.
But he hasn't been around, and he's bad for the U.S. Yeah.
I'd be curious, though, from both your guys' perspective. When I used to play on the national team, it didn't always matter what you were doing at the club level for how influential, how good you were on the national team, right? I mean, I always think of Landon compared to Clint is also at the top of that list, but there were other guys playing in Europe, and Landon was playing in MLS. And there was never a question that Landon with the national team was the best player while I played there. And so I'm curious, and again, that's one example, but I'm curious if Johnny Cardoso is the best player in European football, but not necessarily the best fit for the national team. Are we okay putting him on the roster, but not necessarily starting him? And maybe Tessman's the guy, or Christian Roldan's the guy playing in MLS for Seattle Sounders. And maybe that's the guy that fits in best with what Poch wants to do and with the team. I could see that happening. I'm curious on your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna lean into what Mauricio Pochettino has been saying. He says it's the right players, not the best players. So yeah, and he's shown that. I think he's demonstrated those actions in his selections throughout his tenure. I'm just going to give guys a chance. I'm going to see what they look like, how they fit in, and I'm going to roll with the guys that I think are the best fits for the puzzle I'm trying to put together. And I believe there are going to be some snubs. We'll get into those snubs, though. We got to take our first break of the show, but when we get back into it, we'll talk a little bit more about Benny and his time with Bob Bradley in the World Cup and Confederations Cup, because we always let Charlie take the lead on those conversations, and we'll continue this conversation about the roster. So keep it right here.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ hits every highlight from all the sports that matter to you.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, streaming free 24/7.
In 2009 and 2010, we pushed him, but ultimately his best role was coming in different moments of the game. And when I would talk to him about that, to be fair, Benny always said, you know what, when I'm watching a game and I see certain things, I do feel like I can come on and that's a good role for me. So I always appreciated that that he understood that we saw his qualities, and that didn't mean we wouldn't start him on a certain day. He started in that half you keep talking about, Jimmy, against Brazil, because Michael missed that game with a red card. So, but Benny wasn't playing regularly, but he still brought something, and so I that's the reason that I say I'm looking for every way for Mauricio to include Gio. I see a similarity there.
All right, those are the words of Bob Bradley, who joined the show a couple weeks ago, talking about Benny Feilhaber, who's joining in for Charlie Davies. This is the Call It What You Want podcast. It's all average of goodness over here. It's being brought to you by Zillow. Someday starts today. Benny, we're going to get back into the roster selections, but I want to get your thoughts on what Bob had to say about you and your role within the team and how that kind of pertains to, well, he's saying Gio Reyna there, but we could be talking about Johnny or anybody else.
Yeah, and I think there's something very specific to how I see that situation and how I would see the situation now comparatively. I think the biggest thing that he talked about was I understood my role, right? Was I playing every single minute in Denmark at the time? No. But I would come into camp. I'd understand where I fit in. Did I want to start? Of course, we always want to start, right? We want to play as many minutes as possible. But if that's not the case, if I'm seen as a sub player that comes in and tries to change the game in some way, I accepted that role. And I was, a net positive, I think, to the 23 or 26 man roster as it is now. So I think that's the biggest question with any player, whether it's Gio, whether it's, Johnny, Tessman, whoever, Roldan, Luna, right? Any of these guys, I think it has to be an understanding where, look, it's a blessing to be on this team, right? It's an honor to get called by the national team, and whatever role you're receiving, you have to be good with it, because if you want to come in and you want to play a bigger part and you're going to be, pissed off if you don't play, and now it becomes some sort of issue within the clubhouse, you don't want to deal with that. And so I do think that, look, does Gio have the quality to play on the national team? I don't think there's any doubt in that. Now, how does he fit in? How does Poch see him fit in with his qualities? How can he use them? I think those are questions that are hard for us to answer from the outside. But Poch should have those answers. And yeah, I think if there's a reason to bring him in, even if he's not getting all those minutes with his club team right now, I still think that he could have a case. So
he's on your World Cup roster, Gio Reyna.
Whew. Man, I'd have to get into nitty gritty to really figure out if I would bring him as the coach. I'm going to stay on the fence for now. I need a few more months to make that decision, Jimmy.
He needs more alcohol. He needs more drinking. After we saw
I'm going to get a little bit more. Where's my water over here? I need to stay hydrated. There's too many hard questions on this show, man.
Absolutely love it. Oh, man. So Big Tones, let's get back to the roster, and then we'll obviously get the information and insight from Benny about his thoughts about the attacking and who should start where. But we had our 8 selections that we agreed upon in the attacking players was Malik Tillman, who came on as a sub for Bayer Leverkusen against Arsenal and inexplicably tried to make a tackle inside the box from behind. Whether you think he got touched or not, it's just the decision to do that. Madueke got nice turn, got himself in a good space, and Tillman shouldn't try to leave his feet, and ultimately that's what puts him at risk. Touches him barely. I mean, we can get into a big conversation whether that was a penalty or not. Just shouldn't have made a rash decision there and let his other defenders that were stepping to the ball make that decision. Anyway, they call it. Arsenal scores, makes it 1-1, and now Tillman's got to live with that. But for me, it doesn't matter despite that, coming into the team because he's healthy. Pulisic, Brendan Aronson, Zendejas is in, Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Haji Wright, Patrick Agyemang. So we have all 4 of the strikers that have been red hot right now, Tones. Is there no Diego Luna? He's still hurt right here. We have players with 1 vote. You had Musa, Luna got 1, Gio Reyna got 1. Zendejas did end up getting 2. You didn't have Zendejas in.
I screwed up on Zendejas. Zendejas should have had 3. I mean, like I said, I was doing this on my phone on an airplane.
Sure.
And I missed him, but you know how much I like him. But anyway, I'm glad he's on the list. The struggle I had with this list, we had said a couple weeks ago when we did this list, we thought that Pochettino would only take 3 number 9s, right, if he was going to play in this system,
right.
And I put 4 in there, right? The ones that, right, and Agyemang, because I think like he wants one more camp to say, let's see who the guy is. And it's not the final roster, and I don't think you can leave either of those 2 guys off based on the fact that they're scoring goals right now, and they're consistently scoring. Now Agyemang has slowed down just a little bit, and Wright continues. I think he scored this past weekend, right? Again. That's the reason why I put 4, or else I would have had to make a decision on 3. And I just thought, okay, it's camp. I actually put 27 total on the roster for the camp because he still has leeway. I think we're going to see probably 90% of his World Cup roster, or at least his thoughts right now in the world. And he has said as much, right? But there's always going to be room for somebody who gets hurt and someone who drops off in a little bit of form, all of that stuff. So I don't know that you can make that cutoff, Benny, right now. Like, this is my roster, because we know, man, we just saw what happened with Dest this weekend, right? I think we would have all had him on this roster if he wasn't injured, right? So, yeah, that's kind of where my thinking was. And I had Gio. I had Gio on the list. That was the other one I struggled with. One, because of the conversation we just had about Benny, right, and Bob's sort of comments. But remember Pochettino's comments after the last camp, where he said, yeah, that rings in my head. The special case. He said, there's always a special case where a guy comes in and he just plays well with the national team, right? So I put him on my list.
He's like the opposite of Johnny Cardoso.
I mean, exactly. Yeah. I didn't have Aubameyang going in there, but I think you just sold me as well, where I agree. I think you want to have as many opportunities to take a look. It's the last camp before the real deal. And who's going to be that guy that can come off the bench and make a case as the super sub, right? Is it Aubameyang? Is it Haji Wright? Is it Ricardo Pepi? I think we're all in the same boat. We're Balogun right now. I still think this could change, right? Because who gets hot at the right time, even during the World Cup and building into the World Cup and those the pre-World Cup games, somebody could earn a starting spot where they're just, every time they're playing a game, they're scoring, and he's just going to put them in there. But for now, I think Balogun's probably the
wait. I want to jump in there really quick, because in 2010, that's what happened, right? There was some hot guys.
2010, we got to bring Charlie Davies back for 2010, but
yes. But you had Edson
it would have been his spot.
Gomez. It would have been his spot, but because he wasn't available, you had Edson Buttle, Robbie Finley, and Hercules Gomez all getting hot at the same time.
Correct.
Kind of in their club form, and then he brought all of them in because you want to go with the hot hands, right? So I guess we could, but all the guys are firing right now. Everybody's scoring goals.
I know.
So this is gonna be a really tough decision. I because the roster has expanded to 26, I feel like there's room for all 4 of them. Doesn't mean all of them are going to play, and so I guess these are going to be interesting games, because Belgium and Portugal, I think, are going to provide different types of situations than maybe some of our group stage opponents, because I feel like Belgium and Portugal will carry more of the game, whereas I think we'll carry more of it, at least against Paraguay and Australia. So, yeah, there's a lot of situational questions I want to ask you, but what are your thoughts overall on these attacking players, Benny?
I think we bring them all in. I agree with pretty much all of them. I think I had one. I didn't have Aubameyang in there, but I think I had maybe Weah, probably incorrectly as a forward at this point. I see him mostly as an outside back at this point with the national team, and so. But I pretty much agree, and I would add Aubameyang after Tony so eloquently put why he'd bring him in. And I like this group. They're scoring goals. You look at through those guys, and Pulisic is probably the guy that's in least great form right now, and I think he'll. Similar to the Landon Donovan comment that I made before, I think Pulisic, when he gets to the national team, he's just going to show out. He knows he's the guy. He needs to be the guy for us to be the team that we want to be in. So I do think that he'll be ready to go.
Wait. Let's put him on the spot again. Benny, you're on the hot seat. So first game of the World Cup, Paraguay. Who's your 9? And then who's playing right next to Pulisic as kind of our double 10s inverted wingers?
I put Balogun, I put Pulisic, and probably McKennie at this point. I mean, McKennie's has been fantastic. I'd be curious to know. And look, I'll say this as well. I think there's been some movement in the formation over the last 12 to 16 months, and I'm not sure. You guys are obviously very certain which formation he's going to use for the World Cup. That would be my biggest question. Exactly what he wants, if he's going to use pure wing backs with the 10s a little bit tighter, closer to the 9s. But yeah, if it's in that system, I think it's those front 3: Balogun, McKennie, and Pulisic.
Okay, I want everybody to answer this that's watching or on the Gloss America YouTube channel. If you want to hit us up later, if you're listening to this, Benny, I'm coming to you first though, and because Tones, we got to continue to put him on the hot seat. You're gonna sit in the Charlie Davies seat. You got to live with some tough questions here. We're down 1-0 to Belgium. Let's just keep it for the March friendly right here. We're down 1-0 to Belgium. You started Balogun, you had Pulisic, and you had McKennie, just like you mentioned. what are you doing if we're down 1-0? Like, are you making it 60th minute, 30 minutes left, maybe 20 minutes left? What kind of changes are you making? Who's your first off the bench?
Wait, tell me the formation that we're starting with.
Yeah,
we're playing the fluid 4. So we got the 3 center backs. We got Jedi on the left. We got, let's say, Weah on the right. You got Tessman and Adams as your 6s. Yeah. You got McKinney and Christian, and then you got Malagon up top.
I would change the formation at that point. You're down 1-0. I think I change the formation and go to a back 4 instead of a back 3. You allow Jedi to stay on the left. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe even an Alex Freeman on the right, where a guy that can get up and down a little bit more freely and still defend better than Weah.
Keep going.
And I put Pulisic as a winger. You bring in a 10, kind of like, I don't know if Diego Luna is available, obviously, but maybe more of like
maybe Tillman. Maybe
Tillman, maybe a Brennan Aronson, somebody that can kind of provide something a little bit different from the midfield into attack. And you have, if Balogun's not having a good game, you give, a Haji Wright, a Patrick Ajamang, Ricardo Pepi someone an opportunity. Yeah, to get in and try and provide something different. Or the only other thing you can tinker with is you try 2 forwards, right? You put somebody else next to Balogun. Maybe it frees him up a little bit, somebody with more size, more presence in the box. And you kind of go with a 4-4-2, kind of how what we used to play in the national team when I played, where you had Landon and Clint as the 2 10s from an outside position. They were outside midfielders at that point, but they were our 10s, and you play kind of like the empty bucket with 2 6s in there. And you could probably play with like, a McKennie and an Adams. Not sure maybe if somebody else fits in there, but I think those 2, I would test it, because when you go into the World Cup, you're playing against lesser teams than the U.S. in the group stages. If you go down 1 goal in those games and you try and stick to that formation of 3 center backs, where maybe you don't really need all that, defenders in there, it would be interesting to see what we look best in. Is it a 4-3-3? Is it a 4-4-2? So I would tinker with a couple of things if we go down in one of these games.
That's why these friendlies are important. So you basically are saying, I'll take out a center back, bring on more of an attacking player, and hopefully that can solve and change it positionally. I like where your head's at.
Benny mentioned in the old 4-4-2. I love it, man. The lost.
It's coming back.
Hey, it's like fashion, man. It's fashion. It's just cyclical.
Hey, Benny, I grew up when we had 5 forwards. We had an outside winger and an inside winger and a central. We had 2 defenders.
I believe
Don't say that out loud, Big Tones, because I think it dates you a little bit. We don't need to make that happen. All right, we're going to take our last break of the show. When we come back, we'll get into some more of the roster talk, of course, and Concacaf Champions Cup, and a lot to get into, so keep it right here.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more. It's Gareth Bale! On the UEFA Champions League channel, streaming free.
All right, welcome back into the show. This is being brought to you by Zillow. Someday starts today. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Benny Feilhaber and Tony Meola. And we're going to start here with an alumni, another sporting Kansas City Wizards alumni, Gianluca Busio, who just signed a new deal with Venezia. Venezia currently on top of Serie B. Looking to get promoted. It'll be his 3rd time in Serie A if Venezia can pull it off. Pretty big deal. You were teammates with him, Benny, yes?
That's right. Boos. He was a kid though back in the day when I was playing with him, but he was very mature, but I think he was 17, 18. I mean, I met him when he was 15 as a homegrown. So he's blossomed into a great player and doing well at Venezia, and looks like, in the good and the bad, they're the yo-yo team right now in Serie A and Serie B, but maybe they can stay up this time because it looks like they will be able to get promoted.
Yeah, and they also have some of the cleanest kits around the
world. They do. I would love one of those.
Enjoy those for a couple more years. Congratulations to him. Some other news, Big Tones. Yeah, good for him. Some of the co-hosts, World Cup co-hosts, have been hit with some untimely injuries, and this is kind of on the heels of Serginho Dest. And we know, Benny, you've talked about it already with the 2010 roster. Somebody gets hurt. Charlie was ahead of 2010. Somebody you thought you were going to be counting on to play in the big games all of a sudden isn't available. And Alphonso Davies for Canada now has strained his right hamstring in Bayern Munich's massive win over Atalanta. No timeline specified, but likely out for the March window. His last game for Canada came versus the U.S. men's national team in that, Concacaf Nations League 3rd place game back on March 23rd. In 2025. And then Luis Miguel Malagon ruptured his Achilles tendon. He's the number 1 for Mexico in Club America's 1-1 draw versus Philadelphia Union. Let's talk. That's why I wanted to tee you up, Big Tones, because now Mexico's down their number 1 goalkeeper for the World Cup. And that I know they've got other players, But that's got to be a shock to the system.
Man, I saw they may call Memo Ochoa back in. He's playing in a small club. I think he's in Cyprus playing right now, and this would be his 6th World Cup, so it would break a record.
Dang.
Yeah, I don't know. Malagon, it seemed to be the guy, right? I mean, he was the guy that had come through, and of course it's 2 World Cups they tried to change Memo Ochoa, but they really couldn't. If you go back to 2018 World Cup, it was Memo Ochoa, and then their goalkeepers were like 39 and 38 years old, or 38 and 37. Like they've had like a weird cycle because Memo Ochoa for so long has taken up the minutes in the national team. So this is a tough time for Mexico. Alphonso Davies, though, that one, man, I don't know if you saw it. I was watching it live. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen the videos. Man, it was heartbreaking. Like I don't care what happens to Canada, if I'm being completely honest, but I care about players, right? No, I'm serious. I care about players. Like I said about our team the other day, you want Jesse Marsch to have the ability to pick all of his players, right? And then in the end, we're always going to argue about who should have made it, who should make it. Like we would have maybe done something different, but it's not our job to do that. It's their job to pick those guys. But Alphonso Davies, man, he's been a guy he's carried the Concacaf flag for quite some time with regards to guys going to a big, massive club and having success and winning things. And he's a fun player to watch, man. He came out of our league, right? I saw him at the youth academy in Vancouver when he started. And look what he's done. And just see him go off the field the way he did. It was kind of heartbreaking. So hopefully, I was happy it wasn't his knee. It's his hamstring, right? And we'll see if he can get back here. He won't be ready for the camp. But it's been a tough run for him, man.
Yeah, it's being reported that he'll be out for 3 weeks or so, and
but it's a hamstring, right?
Yeah,
we all know hamstrings.
He was in tears. Yeah, they can be a little tricky, and so definitely out for this March window. But it looks like he'll be okay time wise with the World Cup. So we'll have to wait and see. Benny, you and I have we shared the Copa America together in 2007. You played in the Confederations Cup in 2009. I believe you played in all of those games. And then in 2010 World Cup, you played in 3 of the 4 matches. And so you've been around and seen what it's like when somebody gets hurt, either in tournament or also right before it. You know, how do these countries, and we have Serginho Dest, right? That would have been a good opportunity for him to continue to be with the group. But then it also provides an opportunity, and I was one of those players that when Eddie Pope was hurt, I'd get my chance, right, to prove that I could hang with the guys. So yes, it's disappointing, but it's also an opportunity for others to step up and make their mark.
Sure. I was going to make a joke to call Memo Ochoa, and I didn't realize he was still playing, Tony. I mean, Memo Ochoa.
I think it's Cyprus. I'm going to check.
I think he's sitting at home for 4 years, and then he gets called up.
He makes the timely save, though. You got to respect the timely save.
Unbelievable. So yeah, he might get called in. I don't know what age he's got, but he's probably sitting on the couch ready for the call up. But yeah, with Alphonso, man, it's so frustrating, and it's sad because since his big injury with Canada and he hasn't been able to kind of get back. And I feel like it's been twice now, Tone. I saw this one where he came out emotionally, but it was maybe less than a month ago, I feel like, or maybe about a month ago. Time flies now, but he got injured again, and it was something similar, and then he came back, and then he got injured again. And so does he have enough time to get ready for the World Cup? Of course. There's still 3 months, and yeah, muscle injuries are tricky, but 3 months is more than enough time if you rehab it properly. But who's to say he's going to stay healthy, right? Right now, it just feels like every time he plays, he gets hurt again. And so, man, it sucks. Guys like that are so powerful. He has so much speed. It's sometimes harder to stay healthy from those muscle injuries. And he's struggling right now after that long-term injury that he had with the Canadian national team. And so it does open up opportunities for other guys, like you said so yourself, Jimmy, and we'll see who those players might be. And guys will have to step up because those guys are big-time players on their national teams, respectively.
Jimmy, real quick, just kind of a reference point. I'm thinking about 2002 because it was the last World Cup I was part of as a player. Just before, I don't know if it was the game before or 2 games before, we're playing Uruguay in D.C., and Chris Armas goes down, right? And Chris Armas was a lockdown starter for that national team. He was the guy, right? Ended up, Pablo came in. I think Pablo would have played some minutes, but Chris Armas was the guy. And then we get to South Korea, and we're training I don't know if it's 2 days before the game, might have been 3 days before the opener. We're training, and off to the goalkeepers are training, and then off to the side you hear a scream, and Steve Cherundolo goes down in a 5v2.
No.
Right? Yeah, in like a little activation type thing, just knocking the ball around, and you're not going 100% type thing, but you guys have all been there, right? And then you're thinking like, that's how quickly it happens, man.
Yeah,
like that's it. The World Cup changed. Now, what's the coach thinking? Like the coach is in like full speed. Like, holy Christ, I got to make some changes here. Like I need a backup plan. And Chris Armas is one thing, because you're in the States, you're in the pre World Cup camp, so you got a little bit of time. We're like a day or two. Someone might want to check the date, but we're like a day or two before the opener, right? And I don't remember what we did. I don't know if we could bring another guy at that point into camp. But that's
who was it that started? Was it Tony? Sane?
Well, Tony, I think Sana started on one side and Hayek on the other side in that game. It was Portugal the first game,
right?
And Tony Sana was just he tore that World Cup up, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how fast it happens, right? That's how fast.
And the next man up mentality too,
right?
Yeah, you have to have it. Yeah,
and Pablo, that's where Pablo Mastroianni kind of broke through, right? And everybody could see what he was capable of and how important he was.
Yeah.
Even though he was somewhat of Chris Armas's understudy. Another injury actually that happened last night in the Concacaf Champions Cup, Marcel Ruiz going down for Mexico, playing for his club Toluca. No reports yet of what it actually is, but it didn't look good, and he was grabbing his knee, and he looked very upset. So we'll have to wait and see, and that could be another second injury for the Mexican national team. And to your point, Tones, we don't want that. We want to see everybody as healthy as possible, playing to the best level that they possibly can. But that's a nice segue, I would say, to a CONCACAF Champions Cup overall. Let's get into the games that have happened. We got a couple happening tonight. FC Cincinnati versus Tigres in Cincinnati. That'll be happening tonight. In Vancouver will be hosting the Seattle Sounders. That'll be a good game. Cincinnati Tigres kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern, and Vancouver Seattle at 10 p.m. Eastern if you want to stay up late for the nightcap. So we'll get into the results that already happened. Club America went into Philly, won that game 1-0. Cruz Azul pulled off that was a good game. 3-2 over Monterrey in Monterrey. LAFC versus Alajuelense. That was 1-1. I thought LAFC should have found more goals in that one. They're going to have a tough one in the second leg in Costa Rica. Nashville and Inter Miami 0-0 in that game. Really limited Messi's influence in that one. It just felt like Miami was cool with the tie. They'll win it in Miami in leg 2. LA Galaxy took a little while, but got past Mount Pleasant 3-0. Gabriel Peck scored his first ever professional hat trick. Congratulations to him. And really the big one that I want to talk about, San Diego FC getting a red card early in this game, 1-0, or going down 1-0 on a penalty. And then Ingvartsen basically turned around to clear a ball out of his box and smashed some guy in the face. Got a red, they got a pen. But San Diego FC find a way to get back into it. And what I loved, it was 1-1 at halftime. They're down to 10 men, and right off a kickoff, it's Toluca's kickoff, and San Diego FC's going full bore, full press. And I was like, okay, most teams at that point would maybe just sit back, try to keep it at 1-1 the rest of the game. And Mikey Varas and his guys were like, yeah, middle finger to that. We're going to go for it. And within 40 seconds of that type of mentality, they scored their second goal. And I was like, I got a ton of respect for what's happening in San Diego and how they're approaching games. They go on to win that one 3-2. Now they've got Manu Dua got a red card at the end. That was a second penalty for Toluca. Now it's 3-2. That's tough. They're missing two key guys in the spine of their team going down to Mexico for leg 2. So they got a lot of work to do. I don't think Mikey Varas will be completely pleased. They try to keep it at 3-1. But still a hell of a performance. Benny, what are your thoughts on CONCACAF Champions Cup, San Diego FC? What do you got for us?
Well, first, I wouldn't bet against San Diego, even without all those players. I mean, Dua is a fantastic young player. I really, really like him. I've compared him to Iko Parra in a lot of ways with his athleticism, the ability that he has to defend. He's very clean on the ball as well, where you kind of have to be on that team. And so he's going to be a big loss. But, man, how do you bet against this team, right? The more impressive thing for me wasn't even, okay, you go into halftime, you have a game plan, and then you come out, like you said, Jimmy, it's you get kicked in the mouth 3, 4, 5 times in the first 15 minutes. I was watching this game, and I couldn't believe how many turnovers San Diego was making, right? Toluca was high pressing. It was intense. They were difficult to get through. And San Diego was trying to do what they normally do to no effect. And they eventually gave up a goal, but they gave up chances after chances too. And they looked like they were desperate, to change something.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't change. They go down a goal. They go down a man. They weren't able to break out of any pressure in the beginning of the first 15 minutes. And they stick to it. They stick to their philosophy. We were talking about it before, Tones, where they're just true to their identity and they're going to play their way, whether, they're up 5-0 or down 1-0, down a man. And they just kept going and they kept battling. And this first half started evening out. They were able to get the 1-1 goal off of a really nice movement and buildup. And then they come into the second half with the audacity, we say, right, to come out and try and press down a man and win the game ultimately. And so credit to them. They're fantastic to watch. They're a really good team. They have a really good mentality, and they're all on the same page with what they want to do. And they go out with a 3-2 win. And I wouldn't bet against them. I think that even with a couple of players down, they're going to go into Mexico in that incredible altitude, I think, at Toluca, and they should have themselves a good chance. It's going to be tough because Toluca's a good team, obviously, but they're going to have a good chance to go through in this tie.
All right. And Big Tones, any thoughts on that game or any of the other ones that you had your eye on?
The LAFC. Yeah, the LAFC one is the one that's a little bit wonky to me, if you will, right? You're at home, Alajuelense, historically a good club in CONCACAF, right? Costa Rican side, but 1-1, man, going down to Costa Rica. And was it Tuesday? We did our rankings of like the teams in MLS. Yeah. I think we all had LAFC as a team that could get to a final. I don't know if you did. I know I did. I think Charlie did. I don't know where you were.
I was there.
Yeah. I thought you were. And this is a tricky one for LAFC to navigate. It's not going to be. We all know, man. There's some weird whistles when you go down to Costa Rica, and especially when you get in the penalty box. There's a lot of weird whistles that go on. So just one I think they're better than Alajuelense, but just one to watch. That's Jimmy, the one that kind of stuck out.
We played down there, Tones. We were on the same team. Yeah, we went down there and played, and that game was tricky. And that's one of those when you go down. I mean, it can be anywhere, but I remember going. The field looks so nice when you walk up to it, and then when you actually stand on it,
it's not nice.
It's terrible, and you're like, you're like your cleat can't dig into it at all, so you don't know whether to wear. I know this feels like we're getting in the weeds here, but it does impact how you approach the game, and so. Do I wear my moldeds or do I bring my studs? Like the studs don't catch at all, and you're like slipping and sliding out there, and you can't take that risk, and then you don't feel necessarily comfortable. Anyway, I remember going down.
Jimmy, if I saw you with moldeds, I'd have had a conversation with you from behind.
There's always a part of me that was like a box.
I center back wearing moldeds, Benny. I don't know, man.
No, especially not if they slip, right? Then it's
yeah.
You're getting on them for that.
Yeah. I mean, that was. I don't even remember the result. Maybe a 1-1.
But those are the elements, right? Going down to Central America, you play in different fields. And here's the thing that I think fans sometimes overlook is the team that's the home team. They're so comfortable playing in whatever it is that they're playing on, whether it's turf, whether it's bad grass, whether it's muddy, whether it's dry, tall grass, whatever. They know how to play in that. They know how to use their body the right way when the game isn't as clean, right? And so I do think that it'll be tough for LAFC. I think they come out with the win. I really do. I think that they got a bit unlucky. But yeah, dude, you go to Central America, whether it's Costa Rica, whether it's any other country there, and it starts to feel like at times where the other team has like 12, 13 players, all of us. It's like what's going on? This isn't the same game that I play back home. So it'll be interesting to see how they do.
One of those is wearing a yellow jersey with a whistle in his mouth. One of those guys.
Yeah, he might be a little more friendly to the home team than normal. All right, some other news out of MLS. Orlando City parting ways with Oscar Pareja. Early sacking in MLS following kind of a losing start to the season, but the signs were there at the end of the previous season, and so makes you wonder why not just make that move when the new coach could come in the summer, or in the offseason, and then maybe put their stamp on the players that they want to sign. 3 games, 3 losses for Orlando City, 2 red cards, the league worst, -8 goal difference. They lost 5-0 to NYCFC last weekend. Now, Antoine Griezmann has mentioned that he wants to come to the team. I don't know if he's probably going to hit the brakes. I think he's mentioned he's going to wait until the season ends for Atleti before maybe making a move after the World Cup. But it's a shame for Oscar Pareja. And Benny, I'll come to you first on this, and then Tones, I want to get your thoughts as well. He did a lot of good things for Orlando City. They won Open Cup in 2022, always consistently making the playoffs, kind of created an identity there. And somehow, and this happens over time, sometimes the wheels just fall off or the guys just need to hear a new voice.
Yeah, and Oscar has been a coach that I've always admired from afar. I think he's a good manager. He's done well everywhere he's gone. Dallas, Colorado, Orlando. Won the first trophy, if I'm not mistaken, for Orlando City in that Open Cup. Yep. And so, but you could see, I feel like what you said last year, towards the back end of the last year, and obviously this year, it doesn't look fluid right now within the team. They have some interesting players, but it's just not moving in the right direction. Right. And so I think it makes sense. And Oscar, I'm sure, will also find somewhere to land at some point where he can be successful. So I think it was just probably best for both parties at this point, and we'll see what it looks like from Orlando City's perspective now going forward.
Tones, I think he's going to have a few job openings to look at over the next.
Yeah, remember he recently, within like the year and a half, signed a new contract, so he might just chill out a little bit and kind of assess his options, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's very Jim Curtin of him to consider that. That's a deep cut for everybody paying attention to MLS. All right, one last photo before we let everybody go. Our producers put this together, and look at that.
Look at those jerseys. Those jerseys. Those jerseys. Those are my favorite jerseys. I love those.
I can't find mine. I used to have it. I don't know where it went. I think somebody lifted it because they also thought.
Who's 25 on the bottom left? Who?
What game is this though? That's Frank
Copa America.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
That's Copa America.
No, it's
Benny, look at that hairdo.
No. That's
Michael Bradley didn't go to the. Landon didn't go,
right.
Did he?
This was Dallas. We played against Dallas. We played in Guatemala in Dallas. That's what it was.
That's right.
Friendly. Frank Simic.
That's right.
Wow.
We covered up Deuce's face there.
Justin Mapp, Landon, Michael, Spector. I can't. Is that Deuce over there behind the collar? What you want?
It has to be.
Eddie Johnson, Casey, Conradinho, and Jay DeMera.
It's a squad. That's a squad.
Squad.
All right, everybody, that's it. Calling it a show. Benny, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Big Tone's always a pleasure. Thank you to our producers, everybody watching. We appreciate you, and we'll see you very soon. Have a good weekend. Later.